So I want you to go ahead and name at least 6 of the tribes native to Costilla County. I mean, there's like a plethora, right? Just an absolute smorgasbord. So many tribes are in the San Luis Valley. Just name 6 of the tribes native to Costilla County. Go ahead. I don't have all day. So, also between One, Coronado, and Vargas, who reached Costilla County first? And what year did the one of those 3 come to Costilla County? Who reached it first, and what year did they reach it? What did Vargas do in the 6 days? Oops. He was in the present-day Costilla County. So I believe that Don Diego de Vargas is the first Spanish conquistador in Costilla County, therefore in Colorado. Whoever was the first one in Costilla County would be the first one in Colorado. So Vargas, what did Vargas, that's the, Don Diego de Vargas, he's the one that reached it first, and it was 1694. The Americans, the English, isn't going to reach Costilla County until 1807 with Zebulon Pike of, Pike's Peak. His renowned and celebrated. And it was a fantastic adventure, actually. So he's just 30 minutes away from here. But that was 1807, so this is 1694, right? This is 10, 20 years ago. So the Spanish were around, Colorado a lot sooner, a lot earlier than the English and the Americans. Now, I want to do an update. I've already talked about Don Diego de Vargas, and I call him the first historical white European man in Costilla County, the first historical one. So, yeah, some asshole might have just wandered into Colorado, and you had, Native Americans all over the place. But unless the Native Americans wrote it down, I saw a buffalo today, then that's not part of the historical record. They're part of the, archaeological record and oral tradition turned into. And actually, if there is oral history, just write it down. Like, I don't understand why people. This is not tough. That's how history begins, is by someone saying, I was there and I saw this, 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 and this. So as soon as you take oral history and write it down, it's not, oral history anymore. It's part of the written record. So, yeah, 1694. 1694 is when Don Diego Vargas, he's sitting there stealing all the corn, right, from the Puebloans to give it to Santa Fe, and then they start chasing him, and they chase him up to the San Luis Valley. And he comes up to the San Luis Valley and sees a bunch of Utes, and the Utes are using smoke signals to announce the presence of Don Diego de Vargas and his Brady Bunch caravan of 400 people, 100 soldiers, family, Franciscans, natives. And then he killed 8 Utes. 6 soldiers were wounded. So this is, a battle. This is a battle. This is death. We got 8 Utes, 6 soldiers wounded. Don Diego de Vargas then pacified the Utes by smoking with them and passing out some gifts. The Utes apologized, saying that they thought that they were just the Puebloan Indians who were dressed in Spanish garments, pretending to be the Spanish and were attacking them. They didn't know they was actually the Spanish. So Don Diego de Vargas invited the Utes to Santa Fe to trade as they had done before the Pueblo Revolt of 1680. So, hey, guys, sorry, shot 8 of your men, but you want to come trade in Santa Fe? It's only about 7 days' journey. So there were drawings of maps from previous observance. So technically, Don Diego de Vargas isn't the first European in the Colorado. He wasn't the first European. There was maps, right? Somebody wrote some maps down, so somebody else was around here. But until, Spain releases those documents, for some reason, they're just holding those documents close to their chest. But, yeah, the first historical European. So what did he do? So, he shot 8 Utes, right? But he also did a couple other things. Noticed that they were using smoke signals and hand signals, and so they were using sign language, right? The Utes are using sign language, so that's very cultured, and they know another language. And Vargas also saw a bunch of buffalo, and he saw some deer. The 400, Vargas and the 400 Brady Bunch, they came with cows, goats, and, sheep to feed themselves on this, voyage, on this trek But in the 6 days that they were there was a bunch of buffalo, like 500 buffalo. They saw some deer, but they didn't shoot or kill and get any of the buffalo or deer for themselves or for Santa Fe. So they're stealing corn from the Puebloans when they themselves have sheep and goat and cows. So they got all the domesticated animals walking with them. They don't take any of the deer or the buffalo. So why goddamn fuck are they going around stealing the goddamn corn? Are they just stealing, gold and silver? Why did they come over to Costilla? They're being chased. They were chased out of New Mexico. That's why Don Diego de Vargas came up to Costilla County, came up to the San Luis Valley for 6 days. So that's, essentially that's what he did, right? They were stealing corn from the natives and the Taos Puebloans. So this is Taos, New Mexico, home of the 1847 Taos Revolt. So the Taos Puebloans were the ones running Don Diego de Vargas up here into, this cold-ass, windy desert. Get up there in that cold-ass, windy desert. Oh, shit, there's a bunch of Utes up here. So, yeah, he's sitting there. Vargas is attacking Tawas and the Utes, and the Taos Puebloans are also attacking back just to feed the starving Spaniards back in Santa Fe. Why can't the people in Santa Fe raise their own gardens? Why can't they raise their own corn and have their own cattle? You got all that cattle. Why don't you get a cattle program and get everybody, a cow? That's a good, store of value. A cow seems to hold its value as long as it stays healthy and fat, right? So Don Diego de Vargas, a couple things that's interesting, historic. He saw that they use sign language and they use smoke signals. He actually sat down with them and smoked a peace pipe, apologized, and I think maybe even gave them some food or some shit. So, yeah, that's fantastic, right? Saw some buffalo. Didn't kill deer buffalo, not for the soldiers or families, nor for Santa Fe. Right? Let Santa Fe just, starve to death. Who cares? It turns out that Don Diego de Vargas and the Christian Spaniards would rather steal the corn of the brown people who are without guns, horses, defenses, and modern medicine to fight disease. They ain't killed deer buffalo, but Vargas and the Franciscan Catholic Spaniards certainly killed the Utes and many others. So, I don't know. I would rather have found out that the Utes use sign language and smoke signals and all this other stuff about the Utes because they told us, because they were, we were friendly with them and they just, happened to, hey, by the way, we use smoke signals. But instead, Don Diego de Vargas did the same shit that all the English and the French and the Swedish conquistadors killed Native Americans. Didn't give a shit, pacified them, smoked a peace pipe to hope that they wouldn't chase them back, right? They were being, God, if the Utes wouldn't have sat down with Don Diego de Vargas, they could have squished them, and then they probably could have conquered the Spaniards. So they probably weren't enemies with the Spaniards because the Spaniards never actually got up to the San Luis Valley before. So the Utes actually weren't, afraid or weren't against the Spaniards, but they were saying that it was Native Americans dressed in Spanish clothes. So that's like what? They were just afraid of the look, the characteristics, and, they had killed some of the Spanish, so they took their clothes, and now they're going around because it's a nice jacket, right? And then they come up here, and so it was the Utes. There's a bunch of traditional Native enemies to them, so I can't speculate. The Hopi and the Zuni are the ones down south. So there's a Plains Indian, the Cheyenne, Arapaho, right? When I think about the Native Americans of the San Luis Valley, I think of Kiowa, I think of the Arapaho, and I think of the Apache and the Comanche, and the Utes. The Utes, big time. This is Ute Mountain right here, Ute Mountain. So this was Utes. They owned this mountain. They occupied it. That's why it was called the Ute. That's theirs. We can't even, just stamp their name on it and just give it to them. Eventually, in the 1800s, they're going to sign some agreement, and they're put on a reservation, and now there's no Utes at all in the San Luis Valley. There might be some natives, there might be some ancestral, in houses and pueblos and what have you, but not the traditional running around on horseback and the, old 18, whatever, 150-year-old. How the natives were 150 years ago, so that's not here anymore. They went to a reservation, so I would assume you had a home, so you would have gone with the main bulk, the main band of Utes. The specific Utes that was in the San Luis Valley were not the Muashi, not the Tatsaki, Not the Muasya, the Tasaki, but there is another one, the Tabernacle, the Tabachi, something like that. So, yeah, those are the specific Ute natives. Utah's named after the Utes. So, yeah. There you go. That's an update about Don Diego de Vargas, who I believe is the first historical white European in Colorado. He, passed out some gifts, smoked with them, passed out some gifts. And I don't know if that's just propaganda, just to make him seem, oh, by the way, then I sat down with the natives and we gave them gifts and we're smoking a peace pipe, just laughing about the whole thing, like, oh, okay, you killed 8 of ours, but they weren't like the chiefs, right? They weren't like the most, that's fine, right? The Utes apologized, we're so sorry, we didn't mean to fire upon you. And maybe some of that's true. Maybe they fired first and then they shot back, but I don't know. I mean, the Utes had every right to attack the Spanish and to fear the Spanish were going to do something to them. And the Utes were the ones that bled. The Utes were the ones that died. None of the Spanish. 0 Spaniards were killed. 8 Utes. 8 Native Americans were killed. In 1694, the 6 days that it's not Zebulon Pike. Zebulon Pike said, I'm going to go explore the West, gets captured, goes through Mexico, then, is freed. So it's a fantastic discovery, walking through the wilderness kind of story. Don Diego de Vargas just, raping, plundering, pillaging, and then gets stuck, right? Almost gets squished by the natives. And instead of, just pressing forward, he was like, oh, boys, this might be it. I bet Don Diego de Vargas was like, oh, shit. We just ran up this damn mountain, right, to get away, and look what we got here. Yeah, there's nothing to celebrate right there, okay? I'm not going to say it's any better than the English because, 1694, they're, killing, and I think, Prince Philip's War is 1675, and that was a pretty bloody affair. So 1600s, the Beaver War, so there's a lot of bloodshed that the English were, it's not just the Spanish conquistadors, but it was all of them. The Spanish, really, what rights did the natives have if, a Swedish person or a Dutch person shot a Native American and they didn't arrest their own and punish their own, then it would be up to the Native Americans to go after not just him but the entire colony because, to get him you got to go into the colony and to extract him. So, yeah, that's enough about Don Diego de Vargas. We probably should, for penance, just say Tawa and Utes and Talos Puebloans 20 times. So Talos. The Tawas are some badass. The Tawas kicked Coronado out. The Talos, there was a revolt. They were part of a revolt too, the Pueblo Revolt. So there's a Talos Revolt, the Pueblo Revolt, and then there was the Tawas that kicked, Coronado's ass. Now get the hell out of here, Coronado. You're not coming up to Colorado. The Talos, make sure Coronado didn't get up to Colorado. So, I should learn a Talos chief. You know a Talos chieftain? If so, leave it in the comments. Peace. This is a bit ridiculous, ain't it?